In a season where governance is being tested by technology, shifting regulations, and rising public expectations, the Institute of Chartered Secretaries and Administrators of Nigeria, ICSAN, gathered experts, policymakers, and industry players in Uyo for its sixth annual summit. With Ibom Air partnering this year's edition, the summit carried not just prestige, but a strong message. Governance must evolve and organizations must evolve with it. From registration moments to photographs, branded ICSAN pillars, and an atmosphere buzzing with anticipation, delegates settled in for a day designed to spark new thinking about governance and compliance. The event formally opened with a welcome address by His Lordship Theresa Ntong, who introduced the summit theme, Redefining Governance in a Dynamic Regulatory Era. She set the tone for the day, emphasizing the importance of aligning policy, compliance, and corporate strategy, especially as Nigeria prepares for the transition from FIRS to NIRS.
It is with profound honor, humility, and deep appreciation that I welcome you all to the 6th Annual Summit of the Institute of Chartered Secretaries and Administrators of Nigeria, ICSAN, Akwa Ibom State Chapter. Today's gathering marks another milestone in our continued pursuit of excellence in governance, public administration, and institutional leadership. This year's summit is anchored on the theme, Redefining Governance in a Dynamic Regulatory Era, aligning policy, compliance, and corporate strategy. This is a timely and strategic theme. Across Nigeria and indeed the world over, we are experiencing unprecedented regulatory shifts, rising demands for accountability, evolving expectations of corporate responsibility, and the increasing integration of digital systems into governance processes. The future belongs to institutions that can adapt, align, and innovate. So today's summit seeks to equip us for that future.
In her remarks, the President and Chairman of ICSAN Nigeria, Mrs. Uto Ukmana, commended the Akwa Ibom State Chapter for what she described as its diligence, consistency, and outstanding leadership, calling it one of the most exemplary chapters in the country.
I believe everyone at ICSAN knows that Akwa Ibom State, while I am a member of all the chapters, they know where my heart is. And since becoming president in July this year, this is really the first official trip, so it's really quite special. This summit is not only a demonstration of this chapter's growing capacity and relevance, but also a testament to its commitment to advancing the cause of good governance across the board. Akwa Ibom State, as we know, at the national level, has become the poster child for showcasing the gains of consistent good governance across peer states. And what I consistently hear is this is Nigeria's best kept secret. So we must continue in that light as a state. In the same manner, Akwa Ibom State Chapter of ICSAN is also the poster child for showcasing the abundance of dividends when successive leadership collaborate. That when they have activities, you can see the sequence of the leadership. And I know that the immediate past chairman of this chapter has also joined online. And she, because of how this chapter has showcased itself, the immediate past chairman of this chapter, I'm delighted to announce, is now the representative of ICSAN in the diaspora in the UK.
She urged organizations to embrace technological innovation, particularly artificial intelligence, if they hope to remain competitive in today's global economy.
We're living in an era characterized by policy transitions, shifting regulatory thresholds, increased global scrutiny, and we can see what's happening in Nigeria now, and technological disruption. For organizations to remain competitive and for governance professionals to stay relevant, we must not only respond to these changes, but also anticipate, understand, and leverage them strategically. The changes place a unique responsibility on governance professionals to serve as translators between policy and practice and between regulation and operational strategy. Today's summit, therefore, provides us an ideal platform to interrogate these realities, generate actionable insights, and equip our members, and indeed all participants, because this summit is not just for members of ICSAN, it's for everyone who is living wherever you are in the globe today, with the tools and perspectives needed to navigate this new governance terrain with clarity. In addition to the central theme, we have two sub-themes at this summit. I would like to use this opportunity to speak about certain things that are important for us to convey from the national.
She also revealed that ICSAN is set to celebrate its 60th anniversary alongside a $3 billion National Secretariat project. She encouraged members to stay committed and invited guests to support the Institute's growth. She further disclosed an ongoing bill in the National Assembly that seeks to rename the Institute to the Chartered Governance Institute Nigeria, a step she says is aligned with global trends.
Staying here today will not only enrich your professional practice, but also strengthen our institutions. May our deliberations today inspire positive changes, strengthen institutions, and advance governance excellence, not just in Akwa Ibom State, but across Nigeria. ICSAN, greater together. ICSAN.
The keynote address was delivered by Ini Ememobong, the PDP National Publicity Secretary, and his message was both practical and deeply personal. He began with a story acknowledging the head of women in his organization, whose insistence made him attend the event, and how, determined not to miss the summit, he arrived by bike.
Alliance and corporate strategy. We are gathered here today to deliberate on a theme that is very ubiquitous, affecting us. So psychologists insist that every human being seeks to avoid what looks harder and would always seek to go through the smoother path. And that in doing so, it is because there is an alternative. If you leave that same human being without an alternative, then that human being will have no option than to just press on. I'll show you an example. This morning, the gentleman who was supposed to take me from my residence to the airport at 8 a.m., I called him. He said, "Sir, I'm close." By 8:10, I called again. He said, "I'm in Asoko." And so give or take, I said, maybe in the next 5 minutes. And I now calculated that even if I spent an hour on the road, I'll still get to the airport in sufficient good time. By 8:30, I called. He didn't pick again. 8:35, he didn't pick again. I knew there was a problem. And because of the fear of the women I have enumerated, I said to myself, you better book a boat now. And I booked the boat. And when the boat driver asked me, gentleman, fine gentleman, graduate, I guess, which again is not because he's doing boats, because I mean, everywhere in the world you still find very fine people who make boats. But the question is that what he would have loved to be? Is that the best our country can put him to use? When he said, "You're going to the embassy," yes. He said, "What time is your flight?" I reduced 20 minutes, I told him 9:40. He said, "Do you expect us to fly? You have a flight, but are you expecting me to fly?" But long and short, we got to the roundabout on the Clinton Avenue, the roundabout by the airport. and the traffic was now from the toll gate of the airport to the roundabout. And I was there at 9:32. I didn't call Imelda because I knew she would be busy. But I had already checked in online. So I was torn between doing two things, which would tell you the power of not having an alternative. Because the only alternative would have been sitting in that car and not making the flight. And all the efforts would have been useless. Because excuses are the things you say when you can't do what you were meant to do. I alighted. And the guy told me, God, there is bike across that road. And it flashed on my mind with banditry, kidnapping, terrorism. And all these mouths where they shout, they call press anyhow. Ha! But I said I need to make it. I carried the bike. We didn't even negotiate. And guess what? The bike wasn't taking me towards the airport. It was not taking me towards town again. So I said, bros, where will they go? He said, God, don't worry. Now my own place is this. At that point, I knew that I had no alternative than to cooperate with the guy. In the bush path he took, with the speed he rode, I had my hat in my mouth. But I just remember that a few years ago, before I became slightly comfortable, I was a comrade. And Tuesday last week, I remember that the police also reminded me I was a comrade by gassing us at our secretariat. And I now said, well, I can't begin to calculate. So if this guy go branch the wrong place, I have to pay jump for this bike. I started calculating. The guy now said, Ogana cash, I've been a transfer, you need to start now because that place, if I just wait you for them, I go come out, make them no catch me. And I'm wondering, are we going to the airport or not? So long and short, we passed through all the tracks and we arrived somewhere at one funny gate of the airport towards where the accredited taxis are parked. And I make a transfer. Of course, you know that he would make a kill out of it. So from that short place, which he took me away for 3-4-5 minutes, he took 15,000 from me. I mean, I was fine because I got the deal. And that's how I now started doing my morning exercise that I didn't because I was trying to finish on paper. So I now had to run. And finally, I'm telling you about when you have alternatives. And sometimes we have taken the easy alternatives that have led us to the path of normal attainment because we simply took the simple alternative. You know that if that road wasn't blocked, there is absolutely no way I would have been on a bike, in a bush, at a time like this, in a country like ours. So psychologists insist that people would always do what they find convenient if they have an alternative. I felt strongly that the only reason we are having this confronted discussion is because you guys don't have an alternative to this topic. You have escaped it at different points, but it looks like the regulations are now coming. The tax, with the new tax regime will come in January, things are going to happen. So you guys just said, well, I mean, we don't have an alternative. Can we discuss this matter? Because when I look at the matter, I'm asking myself, how come professionals who are already tired of the way our country is, the bleak economy, are now sitting to discuss matters that should make their day feel bad? But I mean, do you have an alternative? You don't.
Ibom defined governance as a strategic function built on anticipation, integration, and alignment. He urged leaders to harmonize political realities without compromising the values that protect people.
So, in essence, policies can make or mar a society. That's the whole essence of why we are here. These policies, as ubiquitous as they have become, do not segregate sectors. They apply in both public and private sectors alike. The story of the two Nogales, Arizona and Sonora, is one of the most powerful illustrations used in political economy to explain how institutions and policy implementation can shape outcomes. When we talk about longer life expectancy, infrastructure, good health care, education, those are outcomes. Those are outcomes of processes. They are not the processes themselves. Those are outcomes of policies, laws, implementation, and good governance. Those outcomes now flow from them, and they don't happen by night. It's a process. So now going to using all of this, remember that we've spoken about intersubjectivity, which I really pray that you hold on your heart because you're going to see it all through, which is the fact that things that previously were not in existence, if we agree, can become in existence. And a lot of people in this hall, including my learned senior who does cases for us politicians, do not believe in the sanctity of the ballot. True or false? Okay, just answer to yourself in case you are serious. If we were to give a form for people to fill, an anonymous form, I'm sure that 80% of the people here will think that their votes don't count. But irrespective of that belief that your vote don't count, do you disrespect the people who come out through that process who have been declared? No. The act of declaring is an act of intersubjectivity. What you can give to yourself in this conference is that of a mind shift. Returning to your workplace with the ability to accommodate alternative views, to understand the power of intersubjectivity, and to know that rules, regulations, and ultimately leadership we offer will determine whether our spaces will be better than those of our contemporaries, just like Nogales, Arizona. Dear friends,
The core of the summit unfolded during a robust panel discussion. Each part explored Nigeria's governance challenges, the evolving compliance environment, and the growing need for stronger institutional alignment. Ibom Air's partnership this year gave an added dimension, highlighting how the private sector can support governance excellence.
Boards and management should do is to set up a compliance mechanism, because those shifts come at the speed of light. Like I said, it is not just a situation of you being left behind. It will come with consequences, for some of them, because regulations are supposed to be complied with, so create a compliance mechanism, depending on the scale of the organization. In this age and time again, scalability is another very big issue. You can't have an organization which is so small to operate at the scale of Madam President's organization, for example, but the function will still be attended to. So that's why I'm carefully using the word compliance mechanism. So either a compliance unit, compliance personalities, and there are three dimensions of assignment that I think that compliance mechanism should look at. Number one is to constantly, be abreast of these regulations as they emerge. Because sometimes, and as you know, ignorance is no excuse. The dimension of that compliance mechanism is to constantly ensure that you are abreast of these regulations, as they evolve, as they are issued, out. Another is proper interpretation, understanding what the expectations are. It's one thing to understand, it's one thing to be aware of regulations, it's another thing to understand the provisions and the various responsibilities and what is expected of you. So, execution, in terms of complying, adhering to, and playing the role that is expected of you. Regulations, expects everybody to play a part. So, have a mechanism within the organization to ensure that you're doing what is expected, of you.
A technical lecture on Nigeria's evolving tax landscape followed. Presenter broke down the transition from the Federal Inland Revenue Service to the Nigerian Inland Revenue Service, a shift expected to reshape tax administration nationwide. Participants were guided through compliance expectations, the benefits of the new structure, and the implications for both corporate and public institutions.
The new tax law, what comes is fear, anxiety, penalty, fines. But I want to tell you that the new tax law has much more advantages compared to disadvantages. Yet, honestly speaking, small and medium businesses in Nigeria are not really or fully prepared for the new tax law. Why? Because most of them still have their businesses unstructured, no proper record. Most of them still have their business money and personal money mixed together. Take this 6 million, instead of giving it to the government, put back into your business. With that, you're going to see that the small businesses will grow. The government is saying, when you're grown and you're big enough, then you can now pay taxes. So you can see that this new tax law has so much benefit for small and medium-sized businesses.
All that we have in the new tax regime is to improve the ease of doing business, reduce the burden on taxpayers across all the demographics, and then grow the economy. And the economy cannot grow without investment. So there's clear regulations, policies, and parts of the laws.
A major highlight of the summit was a session on emerging technology and artificial intelligence. Speaker encouraged organizations to blend AI into governance system, not as a threat, but as a tool that can improve transparency, efficiency, and accountability.
Another way that AI is a catalyst for innovation. I said AI-powered innovation systems significantly speed up idea generation and discovery. Studies show that companies leveraging on AI for data analysis experience increased innovation output to up to 19%.
A second panel session took a deeper dive into the advantages of the new tax law, examining how the reforms would enhance revenue, strengthen compliance, and attract investment. Panelists urged institutions to prepare their systems and staff for the transition. The summit wrapped up with an interactive networking lunch, giving participants space to connect, discuss ideas, and reflect on the insights shared throughout the day. In a world where governance is constantly shifting, ICSAN's 6th annual summit didn't just discuss change, it mapped a path forward. From policy reform to AI integration, the message here in Uyo was clear. The future belongs to institutions that adapt. Reporting from Uyo, I am Geraldine James.